So I've been pretty certain that you guys should Nobel Prize me for my discovery that cosmic radiation is how you evaporate water, and it's how you can desalinate water. And what happened is I started thinking about the pyramids in Egypt, and I was like, I guarantee you that changed the weather. Like, I think that's the purpose of the pyramids of Egypt. And I started thinking about the farmland in Egypt, and I started thinking about where it's located. But here's Cairo right here on the map, and like this is like the prevailing winds bring the air off the Mediterranean south, because here's the Mediterranean Sea and here's the farmland. So like here are the pyramids right here, and I think that clearly like the pyramids would disrupt the air and make it rain. So like, but what happened is I realized that like my idea already won a Nobel Prize, and it was by this guy, Charles Wilson, and he elucidated the ability of electrically charged particles to stimulate precipitation. Like basically he had like a hot plate and a cold plate, and like he had a chamber, and he had the hot and the cold interact, and he also messed with electrical fields. And the Earth's poles have a strong electric field, specifically known as the ambipolar electric field. And like, I think that what we've really discovered like throughout this is that moisture in the air changes the like electrical nature of particles, like of those molecules, because like that sort of stuff, like it can cause pulls in certain directions. And like I talked about how like the winds are going to be pulling kind of towards the poles a little bit. They kind of go that way. But like there are other factors that affect the wind, such as like a big mountain. Like it will like kind of like the wind just kind of like flows with the rest of the wind. Like the wind has a nature. It's kind of like a river. Like when they're talking about like the nature of wind to go from high pressure to low pressure, like for me that's immediately like, oh, because water. But wait, this isn't water. This is wind. That principle applies to everything, not just to water. Because like I'd thought about it a lot for damming. And so like about creating high pressure so that it will want to go towards lower pressure through something that like is like a turbine. Congratulations for the Nobel Prize, me. Nope, actually, like this stuff is supposed to be something that like everyone knows. But no one. The reason I mentioned that like I now have scientific evidence that moisture in the air changes the charge of the particles, I have evidence that like if I built a giant salt lake in the Mojave Desert, that it would change the nature of the wind, because it's so dry out there that like the cosmic radiation's hitting dirt. And now instead, like the cosmic radiation like would be hitting water, salt water, and causing ionization. So it would cause like changes the states of the particles, and so like the molecules would be more wet, and so the winds that normally have a certain nature as a result of which are the Santa Ana winds going into Los Angeles, might have a different nature. They might have a different pool because they might be more charged, I think. Yeah, I'm not sure. But what I do know is that even if like the prevailing winds become more prevalent towards Utah and towards Las Vegas as a result of the moisture in the air, I still think that like there will be water everywhere if there's a giant salt lake in the middle of the Mojave Desert. So Los Angeles would get dumped on, and like I think that like the Los Angeles water supply would be very, very, very taken care of. But even though we'd have to build like our nightmare, which is a freshwater crossing here, Like that's really like the most difficult part of the project is like building a freshwater crossing over the saltwater. Because I think you want to go over it. Because I think the saltwater is going to be bigger. I don't know. Like it's a nightmare because we do get fresh water from Lake Mead to Los Angeles, and we have to still get it there. So like that's why it's a hard engineering project, especially. I think that Texas is such a big state that like if you look up droughts, then what you'll find out is that Texas doesn't have drought problems because most of Texas doesn't, but certain parts do. And I've been thinking about wind, and I've been thinking about like the way that like it's very windy on the near the ocean. It tends to be, but if it isn't, I think what's happening is like the water is getting hit and it's causing evaporation, and like because like windiness like decreases evaporation supposedly, but like once it's already evaporated, then it gets very windy because it's moving that water air stuff. But like while it's coming out of the water into the air, it's not as windy. Because right now where I live, it's not windy, but it's like the windiest place ever because it's right next to a giant reservoir. And I think that that's the same thing with the ocean. So I was thinking like the Bandera and 1604 area would be a good place to build a very large structure. Like in between Bandera and San Antonio. I've been thinking Leon Springs would be a good place to build a structure. I've been thinking Kerrville, like in between Kerrville and Fredericksburg would be a good place. I think like anywhere like on the way to Los Maples from Kerrville would be a great place. It's got a pretty high elevation. I think probably Waco, Texas would be a good place to build a structure because like it's right on the Brazos River. The Brazos runs to College Station, so College Station could be a good place to build one. In fact, College Station would probably be the best place to build one because then it would rain in Waco. Like I think that we have enough water out there, but I do think that like they're good places to put population centers. Like if you want to put a bunch of people somewhere and you want to have it be able to handle the large capacity of people, put them like in that area. But that area is very easy to build out of. And that's what I was thinking is there's a lot of construction companies like right in this little circle. And so, yeah, like there's a reservoir over there. So like if it rains a lot, then it's a good place to store water. That's the water for all of San Antonio. And this water, the Brazos River, goes to Houston. Houston, I think, like is fine for water, but I think that like if we want to build population centers, we might want to build them outside of Houston because like Houston, like you would have to like demolish it. Like Houston's like a million houses. Like there's nothing vertical about Houston except for downtown Houston. Like it does not care. Like Houston is assuming that Texas is the biggest state ever and you will never run out of land. But Houston also is assuming you'll never run out. I've been talking about where I build pyramids in Texas, and I build them on the Edwards Aquifer. But where I've really seen water problems is at Mission San Juan, I think, because there's the river right there, and the river's like drying up. Like there's like no river there. There is a river in some parts, but then it dries up in some parts. And okay, did I find a dildo there? Yeah, that's the real problem with Mission. Like no one wants to hurt the missions because they're so beautiful. That's Mission Espada, which I call it Casa Espada, because people used to live there, and like it was like a school area, and like I do love the mission so much. And this is like a walking area along the Riverwalk that could be developed very, very well. And like could be like a walking community, but and because like once you get to the Riverwalk down here, that's like the coolest part of the Riverwalk, in my opinion. Like the south side of the Riverwalk, like where they have that speakeasy, like the bar with no signs, and then there's like there's a coffee shop, like and you can take the Riverwalk all the way downtown. Like it's like the sickest area of San Antonio. But like the problem is this area is filled with dildos and like the river's drying up. And so it would be nice to build a pyramid there, like probably somewhere around Casa Espada or Mission Espada. But that would be like a community, like that'd be a walled city. It'd be a Rivendell, like that I like that because like it's a brown area, and like I do want to like develop a brown area super sick, because like I keep talking about like white areas like well actually I mean I guess it's not a white area, that's an Indian. I guess Grand Canyon. I don't know what I've been. Las Vegas is probably no Las Vegas. Never mind. I am developing ethnically diverse areas. That's like what I'm trying to go for, and apparently everywhere I've thought to develop was actually ethnic. I wasn't even thinking about it, but I do know that's like a lot of brown people down there, and like I would love. I think that area is super sick. So like I like when like a large population of brown people are around like a super sick area that like we develop. All right, so I've been talking about having Canada conquer us, or like having us conquer Canada, and I've been trying to figure out how it works, and how Congress people work, because I want to get rid of state senators because it's too confusing. Like just let the Congress people be state senators and have more Congress people. But I've been thinking about what people do, and there are 300 senators in this plan, and like I think that's the confusing part about that, is because I've been thinking that like there are 150 senators in Las Vegas, which is the capital, and then there are 150 senators that live in the local districts, and each senator has a partner that is their pair, like that is their side. They work with someone, and those people have a conference room set up, like in both sides, and so they aren't necessarily representing an entire state, but they would be representing an entire very large part of the state. But really, like there might be like 4 senators from Los Angeles, because there are 2 that live in Los Angeles and there are 2 that live in Las Vegas. But because like, and then I thought about the same thing of doing the same thing with Congress, because there are that many people there. And because because I'm trying to figure out like the amount of senators and the amount of Congress people and what their roles are, because we'd be not doing state senators anymore. And so like, but like the Congress is more about like local financing, like getting money for like the sewer system in your city, or getting money for like solar panels for like this building project. But really like the senators would be involved with major project financing, like large projects. And they would be in charge of like regional financing projects, like projects that are big enough, like probably like road type stuff, like Department of Transportation type road stuff. But they would also oversee the police force, kind of like the Senate Judiciary Committee. They'd oversee the Bank of America, which would be like overseeing the Fed. They'd be overseeing oil companies, because I think we're going to be in charge of a lot of oil companies. They'd have auditing power over the government, and they'd have power to change the Constitution, and then they have power over public land regulation. So I would also have the ability to have power over public land and eminent domain, because the king can kind of do whatever. But like the president has veto power, and I have veto power over the president. But generally, I think I'll just stay out of it completely. Because if I do get involved, then everyone's going to be like, what? Like I'd have to talk about it like for like my entire life. And I don't want to get involved with fights that like are like, I really don't want to, I don't like arguing with people generally. But like but I do have that power, because like that's kind of like the way that the king. I just want to point out a few more things about my plan to let Canada conquer the United States. So many of them live next to the border. And I think that means that Canada really would not want to fight a war with the United States. And the reality is, like, don't make the United States too desperate, and because they will if they're desperate. And Canada is who the United States oil depends on. But at the same time, I think like the big thing Canadians should be concerned about in the short term is like, is everyone going to move to my country? Is Canada going to be overwhelmed with new citizens because the United States is part of Canada? And what I'll tell you is that Canada is cold. And like, I think the more real situation over time is that Canadians would be moving to the United States and living in places like Page, Arizona, the Grand Canyon, Moab, Arizona, like Kerrville, Texas, Waco, Texas, College Station, Texas, like the Death Valley area, Las Vegas. I don't know how much I don't know how big we can build Los Angeles, but I would like to do Los Angeles a little more efficient. And so, like, I think, and plus there's the Mojave Desert. So like what I'm planning on doing no matter what is using Canadian oil to build these projects. And like if Canada becomes a part of the United States, then Canada gets to be someone who benefits from like my projects. And so like, I mean, the reality is I'm planning on moving a lot of people to the United States that aren't Canadian. Because like I can do deals with like Arabs and with Asians and with Europeans, and I can build in the United States for their populations, like if I'm building very efficiently, but like I could also definitely like have more Canadians there, and like and that's the real situation there. But like I'm not planning on like massively like increasing Canada's population, because like I'd need to have a way of generating electricity. And like right now I've got Death Valley, and like I see that as a solar farm heaven. And like, I mean, turn off the sphere and next thing you know, you got 21,000 people's homes taken care of. And so like I plan on like massively increasing the Hoover Dam's production and adding more dams. And so like, as far as electricity, I'm the spot. And like, I think that like, I don't want to go through Canada's oil. I want to do a lot of corn type farming, and I know Canada does a lot of farming. And so like, I want Canada to continue doing that farming, and I want to do a lot of research into farming. I want to spend money on Canada, but like, I'm not planning on moving people there. Why would I want to build pyramids in Kerrville in San Antonio? It's probably the best weather other than Los Angeles. Like I know Sedona has pretty perfect weather, and so when I talk about building out near the Grand Canyon, like that's probably the most perfect weather outside Los Angeles. But Los Angeles is actually the most perfect weather in the world, I think. So that's why it's kind of like an ideal location for like a center of like the universe, which is Los Angeles, Las Vegas, to the Grand Canyon, which like, it's hard to say that I would move the capital to Moab, but deep down, like I wanted to move the capital to Moab the moment I realized like the proximity to the San Juan Mountains in Colorado. It's like 2 hours. So I was like, gosh, I could go hike again. Like I really deep down do want to live in the mountains, but the hills are pretty nice, and the weather in Kerrville is perfect. And it's cooler than San Antonio, but San Antonio is not hot. But Kerrville is even better. Los Maples is the best, but it's far, and it's like an important river area. This is where the Edwards Aquifer is. Like it's an important river area, and like this is like open space in between San Antonio and Bandera, which Bandera is by Kerrville also. It's closer to Kerrville than San Antonio, but they're all pretty close to each other. It's like kind of in between them. But if you go the back way. But like it would be a good place to like accumulate water. Garner State Park would be a great place to accumulate water, and I think that like if you hit it in multiple places, like it would be like the best place in the world to live. It's like Los Angeles, but without a lake, but it has rivers and stuff like that. Like you can go to the river, and so like the Waco area, it's incredible. Like it's got hiking. Like it has a park out there. Cameron Park, and like it's like famous for mountain biking, and it really isn't a bad area, and plus it's a great lake area. But I was thinking more College Station because of its proximity to Houston. I figure if it's going like, I mean, I was even thinking about Lake Conroe, for a pyramid, but like I feel like College Station is like an ideal place to build, probably. Like that's like could be really nice real estate. Like it'd be like a very nice city. Like, I mean, it could be in the millions, and it would cause rain in Waco. But I also think that, like, just like the pyramid right here in San Antonio would cause rain out here. Like, I mean, I think just hitting it in multiple locations is probably, like, the secret. It's my guess.